Welcome back to the years 1979 and 1981, continuing May the Force Be With You May, and our look at the Empire Strikes Back toy line by Kenner. Last time we were on the ice planet of Hoth, taking a look at the Rebel Trooper and the radar laser cannon. This time we're checking out something totally different with the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy, Boba Fett, and his iconic ship, the Slave One, here on KREED'S Collection. Hey, welcome back to another episode of KREED'S Collection, and may the Force be with you may. Today we're taking a look at the bounty hunter Boba Fett and his ship, the Slave One. So let's not waste any time and jump in with Boba Fett. Boba Fett is an unaltered genetic clone of the famed Mandalorian bounty hunter Jango Fett. Boba emulated his father, taking on his Mandalorian armor and starship to make his way through the galaxy as a bounty hunter like his father before him. Trained in combat, martial arts, and weaponry from a young age, Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy during the reign of Emperor Palpatine. He became a legend over the course of his career, taking contracts from both the Empire and the extensive criminal underworld. And now that we know a bit more about Boba Fett, let's take a closer look. Boba Fett is obviously one of the most iconic and recognizable characters from all of Star Wars, but he almost looked pretty different. He was originally designed to be all white, much like the Stormtroopers, and I'm really glad they decided to change this because the version we got looks way better. The design of his face mask is excellent with the V-shaped visor, and you can also see right here this is his rangefinder. In the films that can pop up and help him target things more accurately. Here you can see there's a little bit of chipped paint on his chest plate, but I really don't mind that because Boba Fett's armor is all chipped up in the movies anyway. So not only does it seem accurate, it also makes the character more unique in mind since I've had this one for as long as I can remember. Here on Fett's belt you can see he's got some extra pouches for gear, and then right here he has wrist missiles that he can fire off at his opponents, and on this side he has a cable that he can fire out and wrap his opponents up so they can't move. On the upper thighs of Fett's pants there's pouches for extra gear, and right here on his knee pads he has missiles that can fire out on either side. That way if he's caught off guard and he doesn't have his gun in his hand, he can still take down his adversary. Even his boots have some nice line texturing for extra detail. On the back of Boba Fett, the most standout thing of course is his rocket pack and missile launcher. This is one of the most unique things about Fett, as no other Star Wars figures have this on them. The missile was originally planned to fire out of the pack, but they changed their mind on this. However, prototype versions do exist, and they can fetch as much as $250,000. The missile or rocket looks like it should come out, but it doesn't. It is glued in there. Here you can see the two jets for Boba Fett's jetpack, and that does allow him to fly for a limited amount of time. Or at least hover. Whoosh. Now we're going to take a look at Boba Fett's gun. It's a pretty standard Star Wars blaster. I believe it's the one that comes with the Stormtroopers as well. It's got a small piece here that sticks out, and if you exclude that, it's pretty much identical on both sides. This is not the weapon he carried in the movie, but I figured they just didn't feel like molding a unique accessory for him. It does fit in his hand very well, as you can see, and he does look pretty awesome holding it. Who wants some? Come get it. On the back of Boba Fett's legs, you can see his copyright information, General Mills Food Group, 1979, they owned Kenner, and made in Hong Kong. Before we move on, I want to point out that Boba Fett's first appearance was not in the film The Empire Strikes Back. It was actually in the Star Wars Holiday Special from December of 1978, in a cartoon short called The Faithful Wookiee, which you can actually watch on Disney Plus right now. Alright, now it's time to take a look at the Slave One. The Slave One is a modified Firespray 31 class patrol and attack craft, used by the bounty hunter Jango Fett before the Clone Wars, and later by his clone son, Boba Fett. The Slave One has formidable weapons and shielding, making it a powerful foe in an aerial dogfight. Its twin blaster cannons have been modified for greater precision and power, and it's also loaded with seismic charges that explode, firing destructive shockwaves at its opponents. In addition to the weapons, the Slave One has a special military sensor that can jam most radar and mask the Slave One, essentially making it invisible. And now that we know a bit more about the Slave One, Let's take a closer look. One of the most interesting things about the Slave One, beyond just how cool it looks, is that the top is actually the front. When it takes off, the top actually rotates forward to be the front, and these wings rotate around to be straight. The canopy glass, of course, is right here, and here in the back is a cargo area, and that's actually the entrance to the ship. Here in the back, you can see the dual blaster cannons, and they're actually pretty cool. They can be rotated any direction you want, full 360, and they're actually slightly ratcheted, so you can kind of feel them pop into place as you move them. Right here is the cargo door, and that piece is removable, and we're about to do that because I want to show you this switch here that operates the cockpit chair. So we're going to go ahead and turn it around and open up this door here real quick. I just want to point out all these stickers have held up pretty well, especially here on the cargo door. I'm happy with that. Except for that one. It's peeling a bit, but that's okay. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and open up this cargo bay door. This actually is kind of difficult to do, and it's probably my least favorite part of the Slave One. Don't get me wrong, it gets the job done. It's just pretty difficult to get on and off. Alright, now we're going to take this piece and set it to the side, and you can see the inside of the cargo bay. And now this is the gangplank. You actually lift this up and then slide it down, and it's what you walk up and down to get inside the ship. So now you can take your Boba Fett and pretend like he's walking into the Slave One to fly it off into space. Now we're going to get a better look at the inside of the cockpit chair and how the switch works. So right in here, like I said, you can see there's a mechanism, and the chair is actually able to rotate down so the pilot can get inside of it. There's a clip there, and that allows you to attach Boba Fett to the chair. So let's just grab him, and we're going to go ahead and pop him into place. You clip him in by his legs, as you can see, and typically you would go ahead and close up the gangplank and put the cargo bay door back on. But I don't think I'm going to worry about the cargo bay door right now. So now you just take the switch and you rotate Boba Fett up into piloting position. Looks pretty cool. While we're checking out the front of the Slave One, we'll take a look at some of the stickers. They are a bit beat up, but I think it kind of adds to it since most of Boba Fett stuff is scuffed up and damaged anyway. And if you look here, there's a pretty nice sticker underneath the canopy glass, and I'm sure it's held up so well because you really can't touch it. Here on the opposite side of the Slave One, you can see these stickers look really excellent. All the greens have held up nice, and the blue as well. They really add a lot of detail to the toy and make it look like other pieces of metal have been welded in place. The front/top of the Slave One is just as unique as the rest, and this sticker's held up nicely. Actually, all of them have. And overall, I just think this is a really cool and interesting looking spaceship. Alright, now we're going to look at the bottom of the Slave One, and you can see an incredible level of detail down here. They really went all out. You can see the engines, and then this is a handle, which is designed for holding the ship when you want to play with it. Now what you might not know is there's a trigger right here at the top. See? It's kind of hidden and hard to see, but right there's a trigger. This is a lock for the wings, and it allows you to keep them in place when you're flying it as you're playing. So for example, if you want to take off, as you go up into the horizontal position, when you let go of the trigger, the wings fall into place, but they don't until you let go. Also, when you hold it as you're flying, you can keep them in place if you're going into a loop, and again, they won't go flat until you let go of the trigger. It's a very simple, yet very effective mechanism that adds to the toy quite a bit. Alright, now it's time to take a look at the one included accessory with the Slave One, and that is Han Solo frozen in carbonite. This was only included with the Slave One, and you could not buy it separately or get it any other way. It's incredibly simple, yet incredibly effective. The stickers look good, and it's such a simple mold, but it just conjures up exactly how it looked in the film. It's hollow on the bottom, so there's actually not much to it, but it doesn't matter. It looks exactly right, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. You know, I often wonder how the conversation went between Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett when he brought Han Solo to him.
Jabba, I've captured Captain Solo alive. Oh, Cheskepatulsha, Chitumpa, Boba. Opula Chitumpa, Chisolte Pompe. Oh, hey. Ho, 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 ho.
It's more likely I'll be sitting on that throne one day.
Whoa, nothing.
Geez, Boba. Spoilers. Anyway, the copyright information for the Slave One is located on the bottom beneath the handle. 1981, Lucasfilm Limited, and possibly made in Cincinnati, as I didn't see a made in Hong Kong on this one. And now for our He-Man size comparison. As you can see, He-Man is quite a bit bigger than the Slave One and Boba Fett, but he would be able to fit into the cargo hold if he wanted. If he wants to go for a ride on the Slave One, he'll have to settle for that. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my toy retrospective for Boba Fett and the Slave One from the 1979 and 1981 Empire Strikes Back toy line by Kenner. Full disclosure, Boba Fett was actually released in the first wave of Star Wars figures back in 1978 and re-released in 1980 in the Empire Strikes Back toy line. I personally didn't get him till after I saw the Empire Strikes Back, so I figured I'd put him in with that toy line since that's how I knew him as a child. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up. And if you have any thoughts, please leave a comment. I love reading and responding to them. And while you're at it, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it, and it would help my channel grow. I do a retrospective on a toy or toys from my vintage collection every Wednesday. So I hope to see you next week and every week after, here on KREED'S Collection.